Welcome back to the channel. I hope you're having a fantastic day wherever you are around this beautiful planet of ours. And if you want to make it that touch more beautiful, you know what to do. Smash up the like, subscribe, bell notification icon. If you want to wait to see what the value is, I'll remind you again at the end of the video as well. Today, let's take a look at a realistic upside possibility for Bitcoin, seeing as we're in the month of October, and we often hear the old Uptober scenario thrown out time and time again. In this video, I want to specifically address the emotions around the possibility of time nearly being up, basically a pump to the upside, why I think that is more likely than the downside. And of course, I'm some guy on YouTube just explaining my investment scenarios here. I do not know which way it's going to go 100%, but I have to prepare for both sides of the market. And at the end of the day, that's what we all have to do. And the guys who stick so religiously to one direction of the market, they are usually the ones that get absolutely destroyed. So don't be one of those guys. And from what I could see in the comment section on the most recent videos over the last month or two, it's been amazing. You guys here in the bear market, there's a lot more sense from a lot of people here in the market with some really good comments about the emotional side of the market as well. And on top of what I want to look at in today's video, the emotions is going to be a main focus of it. Now, I've gone through a lot of this stuff in previous videos here on the channel about 2 to 3 weeks ago. In particular, this video, why buy Bitcoin now if it's going to 10K? So that's why I made a big point about if you're a maxi, a bear maxi or a bull maxi, you will get destroyed. It's just the way the markets work. And also the October prediction video. So beginning of every month, I do a realistic prediction of what I think the following month's going to be, list out all of my reasons why, I go through a ton of analysis, and then give a summary of my analysis at the end of those videos. So rather than go through each of these videos in detail again, I'll just direct you to each of these individual videos, which I'll leave a link to at the end of this one in a playlist. So if it sounds like I'm skipping over something, that's because a lot of the detail is in there. And rather than give you another 40 minutes of content, I'll just direct you to those videos after this one. So let's dive into the first piece here and looking at why I think that we've got the possibility of time nearly being up, and probably, in my view, at this stage, I reserve the right to change that I think the market may push up a little higher from here. We've looked at the possibility of a low in October for the stock markets. So far, that it looks like the case. We've got about another 6 days to go in October. And also for Bitcoin, yes, the June low is in there. For the futures market, the October low is in there. So take your pick, June, October, it's all around the same area. I've spoken for many months on the channel that I like these areas as buying. Anywhere about under 19,500, 19,600 is a good area. I've talked about reasons why. And, a lot of people are sort of waiting for that 10 grand or waiting for that 12 grand. And I've listed many reasons why I don't want to wait for those times, because we just don't know and we have to be prepared. And there's many ways to prepare in case it does go that little bit lower, or in fact, maybe 28K was the bottom back a few months ago. There's a lot of ways to prepare. So Fear and Greed Index is the first thing I want to have a look at. I've got a plan that I talk about for beginners getting into the market. There is a lot of questions about the Fear and Greed Index plan. Is it still out there? Is it still working? Are you still using it? I've mentioned this was something that I came up with in May of 2021 for beginners in the market, because retail just flooded into the market March, April, May of 2021. We got that big dump into May. And so I use this as a strategy to be buying Bitcoin and waiting for those next price rises. And that's what's happened from that point. So this was the buying opportunity. Then the markets rose up from there. And you've got to have a plan to sell. And so that's what I've been looking at now as the market's been dropping. This is a long-term scenario to be buying up those major dips, not the dips that everyone else talks about. So that's what I'm talking about with this plan. That's about as much detail as I want to look at with how that plan works. I have my own plans, which I've also talked about using Wyckoff analysis, Gann analysis that I talk about with our members. So that's that's where I'm buying. But for something super simplistic, this strategy has worked over time, and the data has been out there. You can research those videos of mine that also go into the data. So time nearly up. We've got the June, July area, May, June, July, where was extreme fear in the market. So that was a lot of buying opportunity. We had the pump up. Everyone got excited into August and then the subsequent drop. And the big thing I've been looking at here, if we're just using some of our TA again, we're getting a higher low being formed on the fear and greed index, meaning that the fear is not as severe as May, June, July, which we now know is the significant low. Prices have been relatively the same, 18, 19,000. The low obviously was 17.5, but sat around 18 to 19 and then bumped up to 25. So we're getting a divergence here with the emotional state of the market. And we can chart this using this particular chart here on the fear and greed index over time. Higher low on the emotions, and pricing is relatively the same. I see a divergence in the emotional state of the market. People are fearful, but not as fearful as they were when the market absolutely dumped. So that's giving me a little bit of a lean to the bias that the bears might get crushed, wrecked, destroyed when this market finally breaks out of this zone. And so that leads me over to a look at Ethereum. And Ethereum is putting in a higher low on the price chart here. So you can see on a macro view, we're just looking at the lows here from June. We've got that current low in October. That was the same week that the stock market had lowered. You can see here it says the 10th of October, but the actual date was around the 13th. And so that looks like we're getting a higher low. And then if we're to break out to the upside, that's what you want to see. Probably a move up to around that 2K level again, maybe 1800, 2K, something like that. But the emotional state here is if you don't have a position, you don't know what you're doing, you're still underprepared, do it now while the market is still quiet. Take the week off, do what you need to do for the markets, but just have a plan, because the most critical thing that could happen from here, and you can see that we've got a similar sort of move. It's the same thing, same sort of patterns that happen time and time again. Dump down into the market, bounce up, higher low, potentially forming here, and a potential move to the upside. Now, of course, it can go lower, but if we just look what's happened in the past, nice big dump after some sideways action. Then you've got the bounce up. I'll just zoom that in a little bit. Little bounce up, higher low forming, and then the market scooted off into those price ranges into mid-2019. So in terms of a pattern, something similar is potentially forming here. Doesn't mean you're going to get the same sort of moves that we had previously. Doesn't mean it's going to take the same sort of time, but you can see a very similar pattern so far forming. So the emotional state at that time was people were waiting for ETH to go lower. You know, they just hit $80 and sort of looking for $50 or $60 ETH because it's a easy round number, $50. That's what people were looking for. Potentially down at these previous resistance levels, which comes out at about $13. But of course, that was pretty crazy at the time. So you had the other level here at 50. So people were waiting and waiting and waiting. The market then finally broke out above around $180 and scooted very quickly up to about $350, if I remember at the time, maybe $320, right? And so that caught a lot of people off guard. They all started to buy in at the tops again. And then it just went on this long, drawn out dump back down to approximately $100, $120. Yep, it went back up again. And then the pandemic low happened, and then the market scooted off from that point to a new pretty big bull market for ETH. And so I'm not saying that this has to happen exactly the same. It's mainly the emotion here that I'm concerned with, is that if this is the possibility that we start to form some higher lows and we're looking at resistance at around 1700, which we know has been very, very significant for ETH, and then the market basically pushes up from there to test some of the next support and resistance zone, say around mid 2000s. We were looking at around that $2,500 level for quite some time. There was the big breakdown in May. That top is at $2,529. So there's a fair bit that could go on up to around that 2.5. That could catch a lot of people out. And then over the course of 2023, you start to get this move back down, because we're basically been building up with a lot of this energy and emotion for months now. You could probably say since the June bottom, and we had a little bit of a false start here, which has put in a swing top, and then we're waiting for the bottom to come in, a confirmation of that before we move up. And so from that point, that's when the emotion starts to flood back into the market, because everyone's just waiting on some sort of bullish action here to get excited again. And very quickly that can be lost, and the market just basically fades out for a fair bit of time. It goes quiet again. You can see the volume died off there as well before we had that quick pump up, dump, and then the market took off. So it basically fooled everyone once, fooled them twice, fooled them a third time. Here's your buying opportunity of an absolute lifetime. And it happened very, very quick into that top. And, basically just been worn out emotionally from that whole period of ups and downs over the course of 1.5 years. So that's a typical pattern of how smart money can crush the Bitcoin bears. It can crush anyone that's underprepared for this particular price movement. And it is going to be a lot of up, down, and sideways action. And it's just a matter of crushing the last people in the markets, whether they're super bullish, super bearish, and accumulating every last piece of ETH or Bitcoin or whatever asset is that the market wants to buy up. And this is a specific Wyckoff pattern that we've been following. Obviously, the accumulation, it's not confirmed yet, but it's going to take a few months, several months, and it's so far looking like it's in that particular type of pattern, which is why I've talked about it many, many times about being prepared for this with your accumulation investment plans. And so this leads me then to the realistic prediction for Bitcoin in October. I'm looking at crypto damage control. I guess the main thing that we're looking at here, if you want to go through all the analysis, please do. It's, I think it's very valuable to go through and understand, do your own research, build upon this, and get a better idea and understanding of the markets. But overall, looking at October as being a breakaway point. In the past, we've seen it pump through particular resistance levels. So far, we have not had much of a move on BTC. It has been one of the smallest, quietest months since back in 2020, when we had these very, very small months before the market broke out. So this has so far been one of the smallest months. There's 7 days to go in this month of October. And so if we do happen to get this burst out of this consolidation, I think we're going to get some quick moves up to 20,700, which is my next key resistance level. We've got the tops here at 22. I've got my Wyckoff flip zones, which you guys are familiar with, 22,300. And then the main one is around this top level here at $26,900. Of course, there's 25. There's basically a level here, almost every $1,000 on the way up, because we have been putting in lower tops all the way down. Therefore, there's going to be some resistance levels. So at one point, I think we're going to get this breakout. So far, I'm leaning to the upside. And so that could then crush the hopes of the bears. We don't get that 10K that everyone's looking for, and we get these quick moves up. And from that point, maybe it breaks the downtrends over the course of months. Don't get me wrong, I don't think it's going to be in the next 7 days, but we get that, and then it starts to fade out over the course of 2023. So this is potentially winding up for this Q4 move. October might be just the start of it, where we finally take out the 20,700-ish level, maybe take out this top here at around 22-ish, and then November and December also follow over the course of those months, and then we start to fade out in late Q1, Q2, something like that in 2023. But I'll be doing monthly prediction update videos, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel, like, subscribe, bell notification icon so you're up to date with it, and you let YouTube know you want to see these updates. Regular viewers will be well aware of my historical Bitcoin buy zones, the areas that I think are the best to be buying Bitcoin during a bear market. Obviously, we need to have a lot of patience here. These particular zones have lasted for many, many months. This is going back over the course of only 2 cycles, but so far we've got this 3rd cycle. It's playing out all right. It's at the top of the zone, hasn't fallen very deep into the zone, which is fair enough. We didn't pump up anywhere near as hard as previous cycles, so we're not expecting it to dump anywhere near as hard either. Like, I don't expect us to get past that $11,500 at the very worst. Even if we get this little bit of a push up, time's nearly up, smart money starts to buy, breaks out of these zones, and then we start to dump back on top of one of the downtrends. And maybe we're only lasting there another few more weeks after that point, which is why I focus so heavily on the emotional side of this market, because while we're between trading ranges, it is the most difficult time. When the market's going straight up, it's the easiest to make money. You can basically just keep buying on the way up. Providing you're taking profits, you're going to win, and you don't get caught in that mindset that Bitcoin's going to 250,000, 500,000, or any of your altcoins are going to the moon. I know you guys will get that in the next time round, especially as you hear in the bear markets. So that is the easiest time to be making money on the way up. But of course, you don't get the absolute low bottoms. Buying at the low is the most difficult. Buying on the breakouts is the most easy. The easiest way to get in, the easiest way to confirm that you're in the right way, in the right direction of the trend, and the easiest way to make fast profits. However, the bottoms, the most difficult, takes time. There's many traps, ups and down. But if you're ready to wait in those zones and wait for those profits, that's when you're going to get the bigger results, but you have to have a plan in mind in case things don't go your way. No YouTube video is complete without our shill for our channel sponsors, Bybit and BitGet, still doing 0% fees on spot trading pairs and 0% on maker fees as well for new signups. So make sure you use those links in the video description. And if you have accounts with other links, use those links down below. We have a trading strategy plan coming out specifically designed for trading crypto short term, and you'll only get that if you use our links in the video description down below. So go ahead, sign up now, get that stuff done while the markets are still quiet. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow for a new video, potentially in a new location. So in the meantime, go and check out the videos that are popping up on the left-hand side here, specifically the playlist looking at the macro view of Bitcoin with all of that analysis there. It's end of the month. Don't go anywhere. I got the realistic predictions coming up on the channel. Thanks again for your comments as well. Absolutely fantastic in this time of the market. I'm very, very surprised and I love it. So until next one, peace out.